Okay, so when deploy to our own server, first step is to set up, create a new box and SSH into it. We need a nice playground. One of the challenges of playing with your own server is that it's expensive. You can use Amazon or DigitalOcean, Linode, so many servers. Well, sometimes most of them it costs money. So with Amazon you can use a free trial, but it requires the credit card number. Okay, so this one is all free. It's fantastic. Did I request a server? Okay. Now here, so you can request a server, and the one I recommend, another thing to save time is, let's say this is Ruby Talk. 14 is more stable. I tried 16 and some of the sources to update, there's this error out, so it's actually not working with 16. So I'll use one of my, so it's cool here. It detects your SSH key from GitHub, right? And then so you can just say, okay, I can SSH into the server using my public key. I see this is my computer public key. And now this is the phenomenal part, user data. You can then actually add all the script that runs from a fresh server, and then it just run all the extra stuff. So to prepare the server to be ready. Who here can name a few things I can install in here? So this is Ubuntu, so I can actually say, imagine I already have the server. So shebang, being as it's a bash script. So, and then you can say we already in what? Ubuntu, so we do something like sudo, we're root, so apt-get update, right? Get upgrade, get all the dependencies, things like that. So check it out. This user data thing is based on the cloud init process, so it takes different syntax. I like the straightforward bash syntax, and you have to tell Ubuntu to do it in the non-interactive mode, non-user mode, right? So I say apt-get update, upgrade, and then let's start installing the necessary tools. You can even say installing something here. Obviously, you cannot do this kind of command because this is not a valid bash command. So you can say install dependencies. All of this stuff it goes to the log file. You can check later if you like, right? The output will go here to debug. So to save time, I'm going to copy all the necessary stuff to run a server. And you'll find that in the lecture notes later as well, the talk notes. So here, I'm as a root, I can, I apt-get install anything related to building stuff. So you need some JavaScript engine to compile your files. I install nginx. It's a preference. You choose nginx over Apache. Also PostgreSQL. This is to install Ruby version manager RVM. This is an extra thing. If you don't set up, this one doesn't have swap file included. So this is a quick step just to set up your swap file. Create a swap file and then add it. Without it, it doesn't have enough swap memory to compile your JavaScript files actually. So, and here's my quick hack. I'm using a root user. Postgres and Passenger, they don't like it, but I'll use root user here to create a new Postgres root user, Postgres role in the database, so I can use with my app. And down here is you install Passenger. So one of the ways to save time that I hope to help you guys save time is what server you want to use with your Ruby web server. Like you have app server and you have the web server, right? And for Ruby, Rails 5 comes with Puma server that runs well locally. It runs very well on Heroku. But setting up on your own server can also be a pain. You need Puma Manager and Puma, and you have to set it up with one of the process monitoring stuff like Upstart or init stuff. So my recommendation is both performance-wise is best. and second, like it's actually we have something called passenger. It acts both as a web server and an app server, and it will hook up with nginx. So the way it will work is that you will go to our IP address like this. It will go to nginx will watch it and listen, at port 80. And then when that happens, nginx will call passenger, or will start passenger to hook up with passenger and starts your Rails app. So instead of Puma, it's passenger now. Okay. So to replace this, you may have Unicorn, you may have Puma and stuff, but passenger seems to work really well here. And you don't have to install passenger in your gem file. You install it on your box itself, like this. So let's click here, create server. We'll investigate afterwards. While it's creating the server, let's see how long it takes. What time is it now? Okay, 3:59. So let's see how long it takes. Take like a couple of minutes. We need a Rails app to try. So I'll just pick one. I think if you guys want to follow, I think no one's following here, so it's okay. I pick one app. It's called I don't know where it is. So let's see. Surveyor. It's like a simple app that is basically it's a clone of Google Forms. So if you like, it's open source there. So if I run the app locally, it's like this. You can create a survey, right? So you log in. I don't remember the password. Sorry. Okay, so you can create a survey. So it's similar to the chat app like that, right? Hello. Survey. Okay, so that's the idea. Name. You can have another question like multiple choice. It's like color, red, blue, green, blue. Okay, something like that, and you can take the app. Now you're ready to collect the data. So are we done over here? Okay, we're done. I already git cloned this. So if you want to check it out. The URL is okay. Too many of them. The URL is on GitHub at like how do I show git more? Okay, here's the URL. Right, and it should be ready. You just git clone and then Heroku Rails DB create DB migrate. Probably add seed, so then you're up and running locally. So first step, make sure we have a running local app. So step one, right? Localhost 3000 is running fine. So we have that. Step two now is to SSH into the server and put the code in there. Has anyone used any deployment tool to push the code to the server? So here's the IP address. I'm going to SSH into this box. So I'll just call it, this is my domain. Okay, from now on I can say like I SSH into root at domain. No, so that's a variable, so I can go into there. The reason I do this setter is a variable because this is a sandbox. When you try again, you may have another IP address. So this is a nice way not to repeat yourself. In here, we have a box that I already installed PostgreSQL. I already installed Ruby, right? I already installed RVM. Kind of nice. Now I need to put my Rails app here. Who has an idea of what's a good way to put the Rails app on the server?
SFTP.
Yeah, that's great. So you can copy it over using SCP or SFTP, or you can go here and add your SSH key and you can git clone here.
Yeah.
So we're going to follow some better deployment practice. It allows us to roll back and have backup and stuff. So I'll use one of those deployment tools. I used Mina. the documents on the website may be slightly out of date, but it's better than in. You may have heard of Capistrano. Mina is faster because it doesn't do things on localhost and then push things to SSH. It just run the command on the server. So if you have a slow internet connection, it doesn't really matter because everything is running on the server. So when you add, the way to add Mina to your app is you go to gem file, and then you just add gem Mina, and then you run bundle, and then you do Mina init, and then it will add, I already have it. I think, is it called init or what? What is it? I'm going to the repo. Sometimes they have a very beautiful website, but it's out of date. You gotta go and check the GitHub repo itself. Give me a second. So the first step is just to create a file called deploy.rb. Okay. Let me see. Okay, how do you use Mina? Yeah, Mina init. Not sure why it doesn't like it, but
dash in that, didn't you?
What's that?
When you ran it, you had 2 dashes in front of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Mina init. I think it's.
No.
I think it already has Mina in it. So if I remove, I think I can run it. Also, which let's see. Yeah. It's really strange, right? Now you run Mina init again, it just crashed for the wrong reason. So I just created. This is what Mina init gives you. Why we use tools like Mina, right? We tell it where to go. So in this case, I say I have an environment variable called domain. So I don't even need to put it here. Where do you want to deploy it to? It's completely up to you. We're using it for just one app. So maybe I just call this like, yeah, so keep this convention. A lot of people like that convention. You can name it app or your app name, domain name. Here I just call it app or code, right? So this app. Repository. If it's a private repository, you need to do extra stuff like forwarding your SSH key or give the server a separate SSH key. I'm going to just use public, let's see, I use the simpler one, which is this one. It doesn't require any username password, so I just put it in here. Okay. Another way actually is to use Git. You actually can ask Git to display. I think this one. I'm not sure why the computer is all slow at the moment. Use bash to just print out your Git remote from right here. But for our purpose, this sounds good, right? And I'm deploying. Maybe I deploy my deploy branch. I can override that with a branch, something like that, a branch variable, and then you use deploy branch by default. So that's cool. The goal of it is every time you deploy, Mina will clone the project to the destination, create the DB for you, right? Technically, I can even say, hey, also create the DB. If not, it just failed gracefully. And then migrate and compile all your JavaScript and CSS files together into one and compress them. Okay, so that's the gist of it. I'm going to show you the final output of the file, which is this. I add, okay, I'm deploying it here, and I add some extra stuff for setup. Where's Mina? All right, Mina init, we're good. And the second step is actually Mina Setup. Mina Setup, just only run it once. It's supposed to be omnipotent. Means you can run it many times, but it just needs to create the basic structure. So what's the basic structure? It goes to the server. Actually, let's just print it right here. While you're waiting for Mina to run. Oh, I didn't have a domain, did I? Oh, I did.
You
Oh,
exported it.
okay, I did. Awesome. So, whoops. So, I'm running Mina Setup. I added this custom task. You can run it in the Cloud Init box yourself, but this is very specific to my app. I say, hey, I want to make sure it's running RVM. I disable the documentation stuff when you install a gem in Ruby because it's much faster that way. Because my gem file is using a specific Ruby gem, this is what Heroku asks you to use. So when you switch away from Heroku, you may delete this file, or you have to make sure the server is running that. So I say, hey, install Ruby. If you notice earlier, it's using default Ruby 1.9. We want to use something better than that. And so here's a script. It's running. Execute secret. I'm not sure what. I think it's doing this one down here already. An extra thing I'm doing here is that I create Rails every time you run a Rails app. If you deploy to Heroku, Heroku does it for you. A secret key base. I understand it's a Rails app, but if you deploy to your own server, this is your secret key, right? How it encrypts your sessions, some extra stuff. If you put this on GitHub, did I have the? Oh, this is the wrong URL. Not bad. Export domain equal. Okay, let's try again. Is there a verbose mode? Okay, so okay, verbose mode. You can see it a little bit more. Okay, so it's installing Ruby. It'll take a while. In the meantime, I'm explaining. I'm using RVM. So RVM allows you to add extra environment variables to the environment that it used that Ruby script. So I put it right here. Add it to this file. You only need to run it once. Okay, hopefully it'll finish running. So while that is running, I'll update my node. Okay, we have step 1, pull from that. Step 2, add Mina to it, and I'll add some extra script later. And step 3, so basically at Mina we do what? Mina init, Mina setup. These two you only have to run once. Every time you deploy, you run Mina deploy, and it will read the file, this file, config deploy, and push your code to the server. The way Mina structure your app, I think I can go into the server because I already set up. So I'm going to go to the server here. The server. Remember where we put our app? It's in this folder. The way Mina structure it is that every time you deploy, it clones to a temp folder in this directory, and then after it finished cloning everything and make sure that it's ready to deploy, it add one deployment to release, and it go and create a current folder that point to one of the releases. So Mina can keep track of many releases in the past. So if you deploy and something goes wrong, you can roll back and it points to a previous release, so you don't have any downtime. Let's check our Ruby thing. Oh, look, it's done. Install Ruby, export this secret key. That looks good. So now I have, now I can run Mina deploy. Okay, so let's, I should have done it upstairs because I don't think I have the right domain. Keep running the wrong domain. Okay, export domain. All right, let's deploy. Mina deploy verbose, so we can see what it's doing. Okay, it go into the server, it clone, right? And it runs bundle like any Rails app. So this is very similar to git push Heroku master, except next time when you deploy, it's even much faster. Okay, So check it out, finish running bundling. Next, it has to create a database. And hopefully it doesn't crash. But how does it understand what to do with the database? In database.yaml, you have the production thing here. I basically change it to use user and this password thing here. So it will run as the root user. I will wait for a little bit. Root user should be able to create this database. Right? And depending on your Postgres setting, you may have to set this variable because if Postgres doesn't allow empty password, you will get an error. I think in this case it's fine. All right, let's look at the notes so far while we're waiting. Yeah, let's wait a little bit. Any question about the node so far? I think step 0 here is basically I make sure I can run PostgreSQL, I can run nginx, I can run something like that. Reload. No. This is a nice trick. When you do this, it check the config file and reload the environment. Check the Ruby version. We will switch to Ruby RVM 2.3 later. Right. Check RVM. Okay, it's still installing. Some of Rails' huge dependency is this, Postgres. Nokogiri is really hard to get rid of. Some people have written faster XML parser, but it's just one day I think when they get rid of that, it will be much faster to install. This is doing a lot of C compiling right now. Great. Almost. Note that this is on one time. It will cache this thing. Okay, great. Creating database. The bundle install will be very fast from now on. Finish creating, migrating database. Finish migrating, compiling the assets. Mina automatically understands the production environment. Okay, so we install Passenger. We have nginx. But let's just run Rails the way we know it, the normal way first. Okay, look, it finished, and then it does this. Add the symlink to the release 1. Okay, we have one release so far. Let's go to the server. And if you go in here, you see I have current. I point to release 1. I go to current. Just move this out. Oh. So, you see, let's check what Ruby version I have. That's good. I have 2.31. Now, if I do bundle exact Rails console, I should be able to get to the what?
The DB.
Right. I think I need the Rails environment production. Okay. If Rails console, you can actually type Rails console production. But I want to run actually Rails server. Okay, so if you have this running right now on Rails server, and you go to the browser, this IP address, go here, you go to port 3000, right? You're actually accessing the Rails app. We have some error. Who can guess what the error is? It's actually right now it's running Puma. We run Rails server here. So the error is that secret key base. So it can be anything. If you check the log, you can easily check, tail the production log. Okay, let's try this again. Awesome. So you can run it on production like this. Now what's wrong?
The style sheets.
Yeah, that sucks because it actually Rails consider these static asset files, so it doesn't go through your routing, and this is not going to the right file in your setup. So either you can go and set up your Rails environment to consider these files. Similar to in Heroku, you have to accept that.
12-factor app.
Yeah, so serve static assets to something like that. Yeah. Now, that's okay. I just need to know that Rails can start up. Now I'm going to, instead of using port 3000, I'll set it to port 80. Okay, I install nginx. So this is the port 80 as running the default configuration. So next up is setup nginx. Nginx actually using nginx config here. And one thing we have to do in this config is I'm going to look for passenger. And I turn on passenger here. Okay, so you tell nginx to start passenger when you actually run. And I do one more thing because passenger refused to run as root. So I just have to add extra thing here. Otherwise, it runs as nobody. Obviously, for your real production server, you should create a user called deploy, and then you know that will just work. But in this case, I force it to use root user. Now that still doesn't solve this home page. Who knows how to go to the homepage config? Nginx, you go to site enable. Here's how nginx is done. Configuration is done. It has sites enable and then it has sites available. So for any application you put on the server, you put under sites available, and for any ones you want to open up, it's like the active site. Then you put a symlink to from sites enabled. So you see there's one already default. So I'm going to go to default and check it out. This is nginx syntax. You don't have to learn too much. There's a server block here. You see it's listening to port 80 and it served the index file from here. That's exactly the file that you see over here. So I create a new file and I use port 80. Oh, the internet's a little slow, I'm getting lagged. Port 80, but I have to uncomment this guy because otherwise it will keep serving this file, right? So uncomment. And one more. Okay, actually, yeah, I have to comment it out, not uncomment. And I create an extra file in this folder. I'm doing the hackish way. You should create the file in sites available and symlink it over. But here I have a surveyor app. Let's create a file. This is nginx syntax. Server, you listen to port 80. If you have a domain name, then you can do server, server name and then put your domain name like www.survey.com or something. If you do this, then this one will take place. Now I need a few configuration here. I need to say passenger enable on, and I need to tell it where the app is. So where's the app, guys? App, right?
Yeah.
Current folder. Now here's the cool thing. You actually have to point to the public folder, and then anything else. Passenger Ruby. You have to tell it what Ruby version to use. It's a little tricky. Here you can just override it for each server. So for each app you want to run. So here I'm using root and RVM, but basically depending on your setup, this is the one that I use. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Passenger will run this Ruby thing to run your Rails app, and it will skip Puma. Alright, so, and it's called a wrapper. Why? So if I SSH into this root domain,
Is your export?
no. Okay, this one, right? Okay, I'm on this in the server. I'm going to just show you the content of passenger this file. Wrappers, Ruby 3 and Ruby. That is the content. This content. Passenger cannot directly call the binary, Ruby binary. It actually requires you to call a wrapper, and it's nothing much. It actually allows you to load the environment.
That's what you were editing earlier.
Exactly, and that's where you define all these, environment variable. And if I actually edit this file right here, I'll see it. I go this file here, and I copy here. Save it, and I added a secret key here. So imagine if you use your mailing server, if you do extra stuff, API key, you can put it here, and it's used for all your Ruby apps, for example. And you can use a different wrapper file for each app. So where are we? We have passenger, we have set it up. So maybe let's go to the URL again. Load it, right? It will nothing change because this file has not been updated. So you actually run nginx, reload the file, and there's no error. So that's why nothing happens. You don't see the output. But I run this, right? And I see like, oh, it's trying to load my Rails app. Look at that, my surveyor app name is showing up. Wow, the internet is slow. Let me check what Wi-Fi network I'm on. Oh, I'm using Dreamflex. Meganet's a lot faster, so I'll just change to that. Hopefully that doesn't break anything. Okay, let's try again. Okay, 1 second. Need to agree. Yeah, if you guys using Wi-Fi, Meganet free is the much faster Wi-Fi. Okay, great. So you have it, right? I'll update the notes, but basically from now on, what happened? We actually set up the nginx stuff here, and what else is?
We made the static assets available to nginx.
Yeah. So let me just copy and paste some notes over to this docs, so you guys can follow along. So there's a quick recap there. I go to the server, I make sure I enable passenger, and then I create a new file here, right? New file here called vim. It's under nginx sites enabled surveyor. And also don't forget to comment out listen port 80 in the default. So it will now serve the files in this app instead. So step 4 is what? Mina deploy again. So let's make some changes. When you make any changes, for example, maybe I don't have it here. Let's make some changes. Maybe change the layout. This one, fantastic. Something like that, right? And maybe change this to fantastic. And I just commit. I have a test commit. I push to GitHub. This is origin is GitHub. You need to push it there. Usually master is the branch that you want to deploy. But this is we just deal with that for now. And I'm deploying this branch. So you can overwrite. Remember the script, you can overwrite, but I already set it to use the deploy branch, I think. Is it up here? Need to double check. I always double check. Here, deploy branch. So there's no branch variable over, okay? So Mina deploy. And this is not the verbose version, right? It goes there, check out this branch, pull. There are some extra stuff you can do with Mina, such as all your files that you upload in the app can put in the public uploads folder. All the releases will share that folder. The log folder, you should share that folder. You see how fast that is? Deploying to your own server. And let's run it. Where is it? In here, right? It's faster than loading the page itself. That is really fast. If you guys see this again, I mean, I didn't actually make any any changes this time. But yeah, so hopefully that was useful. The cool thing is, there you go. It runs it in like, is that 11 seconds? But the main time is like super fast. And the note here, basically I'm sharing. One secret sauce is to use this server to get a box for free for 2 hours. 2 is to use Mina, which is very fast for deployment. 3 is to use a combination of passenger and nginx. Based on my experience, this is much less painful than using Unicorn, Puma, and extra stuff. Anything that I missed? And that's it, right?
So we don't have any nginx is better version for nginx?
Yeah, great point. So passenger default works because it's just for Rails, so it's so fantastic. Let's go to any server. Let's go to the server. Oh. Great point. So you can type this passenger status. Maybe this one. And it shows you all this extra stuff. There's no need for any extra passenger. Like the passenger default passenger call file is good enough here. Good question though. Let me copy the script you need to run for your server in this slide. So where is it? You go to step 0 is to go to the server, right? Step 0, go to deploy.code, is like that, and you paste in this block, right? Here's the bit about passenger. You see it here. Install it, and this nginx extra is how passenger take care of everything. It actually has to sort of patch nginx a little bit. And if you Google Rails passenger, nginx deployment, right? There's so many good guides. DigitalOcean's one of the best ones, and passenger itself provide phenomenal documentation. Yeah, they make the whole process super easy. So what I did just now is just follow it, and only a few lines of code. Yeah, this is how you restart your nginx. And this is how you can check extra stuff. Like after you install passenger, you can validate. It's like, I feel like it's just so much more powerful than living in the dark with Unicorn Puma. They don't have this powerful tool. But Ruby is not very good with. If you use JRuby that can handle multi-process stuff very well, then Puma is great. Multi-process, multi-threaded. Unicorn is multi-threaded single process, and there are advantages in there as well. But there are some memory concerns. And passenger is like a weird beast. They make money, running production side with it. So I trust the local, the community version. So I'll update this immediately after this. So if anyone want to follow this, they can just get the tips from this doc. Thanks, guys. Any final question?
Your deploy.co that you typed in earlier is typo.
This one, right? Oh, yeah. Where is it?
Right there, step 0.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like that. After you start the server, you should be able to test all of that. And even, I did everything. Look, the server still have an hour and a half to play with. Yeah.
So now it's time for DDoS.
Oh, what?
DDoS.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Okay.